Hello, welcome to my channel. I'm Tiffany, a retired librarian and homeschool mom. And in this video, we're going to look at the second book in the Guardians of, I'm really going to mispronounce this throughout these videos, Gahul by Kathryn Lasky. So this is our second installment in this series. If you didn't see my first video, please check out The Capture, which is the first book. No, this will not make sense. This is one of those book series similar to the Princess Diaries and some of the other series I followed. You have to start at the beginning. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense. So, in the journey, you pick up where you left off at the end of The Capture. So you have Soren, Griffey, Twilight, and Digger, and of course the snake, are all trying to get to basically the Great Tree. So they try to drive through you have few adventures. They try to fly through the day, get attacked by crows. Soren's able to help them. Basically, I think he drops coal on them or something. They eventually get stuck in a windstorm. In fact, the books have, what I love about these, I always love, they have the maps. So they actually end up bypassing it. They fly over the lake accidentally and get to the ice narrows, where they run into puffins. So, and then eventually they fly back and they're able to get to the island of Hole. So, but the other thing I love about the physical books is you actually have pictures of the characters in the very front. So, but they get to they're basically met by the two snowy owls who are the king and queen of the Hole. They're all brought there. The snake goes into service because they have service snakes. They're all blind snakes. It's very interesting how the author came up with this. They have service blind snakes serving owls. So, and essentially, but the owls are fed. They're given a place to sleep, and basically they're told they're going to get training, and eventually they're going to be separated into separate groups where they can specialize. So they work on, and they kind of touch in all of them before they're officially placed. So they work on flight, particularly little Digger here, because he's a ground owl. So he's a burrowing owl. So they're not exactly great on flying. So he works on his flying skill. They work on navigation. They work on a couple of other things and learning different things. And eventually, and they meet, of course, some other owls. And eventually Soren, who's our main protagonist here, is put with a group that deals with both weather and gathering coal, which they use fire. The owls use candles and fire for studying, and they read. So he's put with a group that does this. So they deal with basically weather navigation, and they go into wildfires and steal and basically capture coal so they can bring it back, because they have a smith owl who works like down in the tree and in a cave working with coal, and they need to bring in embers in order to keep his forges burning. So there's a lot of different adventures. You get a couple of different characters. They're kind of shown in the back. I cannot pronounce this. Otlessa is kind of annoying. She's been there since she was a baby. Her parents were possibly killed. Her aunt was kind of crazy and disappeared. And so she's kind of stuck up. You have Baron. This is the king owl, who's a snowy owl. You can't actually see my library talkie. They covered that. That's Eglantine. That's actually Soren's sister. We'll get to that. And then Isabub is one of the heads who's in charge of the coal bringers and basically the weather birds. So, and well, no, he's kind of in charge of, he's a very bookworm of an owl. He has deformed claws. He hangs out in the library a lot, which is where Soren and Griffey also spend time, because that's where they spent time in their first book. That's where they escaped from. So the library meant freedom to them. So they do a lot of reading in there. So you get Soren and Griffey in there reading, as opposed to Twilight, who's off doing other things, as well as Digger. So near the end of the book, after Soren is off gathering coal, when they come back, there's a giant rescue, and you jump to scene Twilight, and a whole bunch of these owlets have been just kind of dropped off, and they're chanting weird things, and they're from the same area as Soren. And so at one point in time, he's out there, Twilight is out there with Digger. He's working, and they're working with one other female owl, where he's primarily just picking up baby owlets and bringing them back to a staging location where they can be taken care of, and normally they'd be returned to their nest, or returned if they basically can't have parents. They don't have parents, they're returned to be taken care of at the hole. Well, they find Soren's sister, and they realize it's her from some of his description, so they bring her back and give her back to Soren. Only all of them are chanting. They're saying these weird things. Nobody knows what the heck is going on, let alone a whole bunch of little owlets being dropped off in the middle of nowhere. So, but at some point in time, a magpie comes, who's a trader, and they have a piece of mica, and they hold it up, and it's very, very thin. It's a mineral, and it somehow snaps his sister out of it, because while she's been getting healthier and being able to fly, she's just kind of been zombie-like and kind of following him around, and not the sister he remembers. She doesn't recognize him. She doesn't know where the heck she is. She's periodically chanting and just kind of not there. And somehow staring into this mica and listening to this owl sing with these snakes playing the harp, snaps her out of it. And that's kind of where the book ends. It's all of a sudden all these owlets are now able to be snapped out of this, and it's like, what on earth happened? And that's where this book ends, and where the next book will pick up. So that's it for this review. These are actually very interesting books. I am in the middle of reading them, so as I review them, this is how I'm experiencing them. They're definitely, obviously, in the library. They're in the young kids section. They could probably be read by teens. Let's see. This book is about 238 pages long. So, decently long chapter books. Definitely for the late middle school and higher. Or I can definitely see you reading these books a lot for homeschoolers. There's nothing really too horrific. Obviously, the first book is a little creepy because they're kidnapped. They're captured in this bizarre camp. I have a feeling these books get a little bit darker, but probably not too bad. Nothing compared to the Last Apprentice series. These are not horror. These are definitely fantasy with owls, though I think there's some battles upcoming. So definitely, depending on your kids, you could probably read them aloud to younger ones if they're interested in these. But otherwise, late middle school would probably be the youngest to read alone. So that is it for this book review. If you like what you see, please like and subscribe. I will be finishing up this entire series. I've done a variety of other series, from the Princess Diaries to the Last Apprentice, which is really, really dark, to various Tamora Pierce books. I cover all sorts of children's books. I do nonfiction. I do videos. I do a bunch of stuff, including some kids' travel stuff and some secular homeschooling stuff, which will eventually increase as my daughter gets older. So like and subscribe and check out what I got. Thank you.